Do you recognize that sound? That's right. It's footsteps. And they could be yours if you're planning to traverse El Camino, called the Way, or any other long-range walking. Now, we're going to be meeting with somebody who did just that, and we'll tell you all about how you can do it. Adventure with us. This is Adrienne Berg. This is the Ageless Traveler. Our motto is never stop traveling. And if you want to hear what we have to say, get in touch with our experts, knock down your barriers to travel, it's very simple. Visit the Ageless Traveler podcasts, blog, our salon. Everything is available to you free of charge, including our YouTube video channel. How do you do it? Just go to agelesstraveler.com. That's all there is to it, agelesstraveler.com. I am so excited because I am going to be answering the question I get all the time. What is El Camino, also called the Way? Should I do it? Can I do it? It's one of the essential Ageless Traveler questions, and I have somebody here who can certainly answer those questions. Suzanne Maggio, she's the author of Estrellas, Stars. It is the unflinching story of her walk, and she's done 3 different really major walks. She came back from the last one last night. Get that. So I am thrilled to speak with you, Suzanne. Thank you for being with us today.
Thank you for inviting me. I'm excited to talk Camino too. I love walking.
Well, obviously you do. So let's start with, what is Camino? It's so famous.
Well, the Camino de Santiago is a series of walks in Spain that start from various places in Spain and end up in Santiago de Compostela, which is the place where the bones of St. James the Apostle are buried in the cathedral. And so the most famous one, the one that people, if they know about them, know of, is the one that was memorialized in the Emilio Estevez movie, The Way. And that is the walk from Saint-Jean-Pied-de-Port on the border of France across the Pyrenees to Santiago de Compostela. And that walk is roughly 799 kilometers, or just about 500 miles.
And that's the walk I took. I've done about 220 miles of that exact walk, ending in Santiago. You have done a lot more, so tell us about that.
Yeah, so I did the whole one. And the funny thing is that when I of course watched The Way, and the movie covers the entire walk, Martin Sheen leaves from Saint-Jean, and he leaves because his son, who is played by Emilio Estevez, has passed away walking the journey. And so he goes and he decides that he's going to walk the journey that his son never made. I actually flew into Barcelona and I took a bus to Saint-Jean and began that journey in 2019 and walked for 31 straight days across Spain from one end to the other. And it is a pilgrimage. It's been walked for thousands of years, really, by people that are going to make a pilgrimage, a Catholic pilgrimage, to reach Santiago, where the bones are buried. And so I wanted to do that myself. It's done in stages. You walk each day somewhere between 15 and 18 miles a day. You stay overnight in pilgrim lodging, or some people stay in hotels, and you just get up, throw on your pack, and start walking. And that's kind of the journey. And the rest of it is what happens while you walk.
For sure. So giving you a little different perspective, Suzanne walked alone, and many do walk solo. I walked in a group, and we went from very small pension and hostels to another each day. I could tell you that we took very little with us because we actually had a chase car that took our stuff, and we would arrive at a place with not a lot of luggage on our backs, but many people have huge backpacks. And one of the things I will ask you, because I had some difficulty with it, although I did a good job eventually, was what I took with me. What did you take with you?
So I was one of those crazy people that carry it all on their back. Before I left, I spent a lot of time doing a little bit of research and trying to figure out what do people bring and reading books and looking online. And ultimately, what you decide to do, if you're smart, is you bring the very least amount you need possible. Because if you're carrying everything, it's quite heavy. My pack was probably somewhere between 18 and 20 pounds. That's a fairly heavy pack. I carried 2 pairs of everything, 2 pairs of underwear, 2 pairs of socks, 2 shirts, 2 shorts. And then you wear one and you wash one. That's kind of the way it works. You carry, obviously, things like medical supplies in case you get blisters. You carry a sheet to sleep in if you're staying in the pilgrim accommodations. You carry a very light towel, things like that. But it's amazing how quickly it adds up to be quite heavy.
It can. It can. That's why, in my case, I did it the easy way, the fancy way. Lifelong travel made easy. I was older than you. I would say probably about 65, 66 when I did this. So I want everyone to know, but I've done more recent ones, and I'm 75. So you should know that sometimes you'll get into a city like Vigo in Galicia, and you'll see something very strange on the ground, and that is a clamshell. That means you are on El Camino. Many of you have been on the way. You don't even know it because it is pieced out by pictures of clamshells. And that's how you know how to go. In addition, people know you're there. They hang out of the top of their roofs and they say, yay, yay, in different languages.
Yeah.
So it's a wonderful camaraderie. But let me tell you that for me, it was extremely physical. My transformation was physical. And this is a pilgrimage. It's a Catholic pilgrimage. Now, you're Italian. I'm Jewish. I don't know whether you're Catholic. I don't know whether that affected you spiritually. I had a huge spiritual experience, but I think it's different because I was not brought up in that culture. I got to Santiago, the cathedral, and I saw 8 museums. It was one of the most wonderful cultural experiences of my life. But it might have been a different kind of spiritual experience for you. Tell us about that.
Well, thanks for bringing that up. You know, it's interesting that the way is marked in many ways. Clamshells on the ground is one of them. There are also these kind of concrete stanchions that you pass. There are shell markers along the way. Depending on what region you're in, you see different markings. But you're right, you follow along. The French way, the way I walk, the Française, is a very clearly marked trail. There's really no way to get lost on it. And so if you walk solo, as I did, or if you walk in a group, it's actually very easy to find their way. There are also many, many books that help people figure out where to go and what section to walk. People do walk in sections, as you mentioned. For me, I was raised Catholic, but it's interesting that when I went initially to go on the Camino, I was about to turn 60, and I was trying to do something that was going to be transformative for me. So I didn't really know what I was getting myself into, except that I'd seen the movie and I'd read Cheryl Strayed's book, Wild. And I didn't have 3 months to walk the Pacific Coast Trail, Crest Trail, so I decided to walk the Camino. But as I walked, I did walk with quite a few people that were walking for various different reasons. And I think that's really the beauty of the walk. As you mentioned, many go for very different reasons. And the experience is unique to the person that's taking it. So we have a saying along the Camino, which is that people walk their own Camino. Some people carry their bags. Some people have their bags shipped from place to place. Some people stay in albergues and pilgrim hostels. Some people stay in hotels. Some people go for religious reasons. Other people go for a sense of adventure. I enjoyed all of that, every bit of it. So there were days I stayed in a hotel. I always carried my bag, but there were days that I stayed in a hotel. There were days that I went to a museum. There were days that I was really doing it in a way that was rather secular. But the journey itself is unique to the individual. So in my case, it was profoundly spiritual, although I did not realize that was going to happen. That was sort of what happened after I got back. And it was really why I ended up writing the book.
Everybody walks their own Camino. And I want to give you one caveat. Having seen the movie The Way, we're talking about somebody who did not do well, the son, on this Camino. It kind of makes you afraid of it. Don't let it scare you away. It's not going to pour rain on you. You could always go to a hotel. When we come back, we're going to talk about our individual experiences. See what you might be able to expect, and which one would be closer to the kind of thing that you would seek on the way. Don't you guys go anywhere. What are you doing between March 29th and April 12th, 2025? Are you going on safari? Well, we are. Please come with us on our very first Ageless Traveler trip. I will make sure that you see everything that's on your bucket list. We're going with the very famous Colette Tours, one of the oldest tour operators in the United States. They know us, they respect us, and they provide for us everything that we need. Yes, we are going to Kenya. We will see the city of Nairobi. We're going to the Serengeti. We will see the Big Five. We will also have adventures of a lifetime. If you have been studying safari, or even if you have gone on many safaris, this is something really different. So how do you find out about it and get your special discounts because you're an ageless traveler? Very simple. Go to agelesstraveler.com. That's our website, agelesstraveler.com. Take a look at featured trips. Get the details by clicking right there. You can do everything from inquire, get your question answered, to book right away so that you're going with us. It is a terrific, terrific tour. And by the way, you can also go to the Masai Mara on an optional pre-trip tour. There's a lot more to it than that because there's yet more opportunity if you have longed to trek with the gorillas in Uganda. Yep, we can make that happen too. So please take a look at agelesstraveler.com, featured travel, and go on safari with us. And now we're back. We're speaking with Suzanne Maggio. She's author of Estrellas, and this is her unblinking story of her journey on El Camino, the way. Please do look at Amazon. Also go to her website. We're going to put that in the show notes. That's SuzanneMaggio.com. Get a lot of information there. And of course, you don't have to take it down if you're driving. It's going to be on our website, agelesstraveler.com, as well as on all of the show notes on Apple, Spotify, wherever you go. Now, Suzanne, you, as you said, had your own individual experience, as everyone does. And that's what the book is really all about. So tell us a little bit about that.
So when I returned from the Camino, I had this sense, and perhaps you did too, that something had happened, but I wasn't sure what. And so people would ask me about it, and most of the people want to talk about the distances you walked or where you stayed or what you ate or what you saw. And for me, there was something more that I couldn't quite put my finger on. And I was trying to figure out what had happened during that time. I knew that I was different, but I wasn't sure how or why. And so I ended up really writing the book Estrellas as a way of discovering what had happened while I was walking. And what I realized when I was writing it was that those moments, those sort of moments that are ordinary, were actually quite extraordinary. That those moments of walking and chatting with someone, those moments of struggle as I tried to make it to the top of a hill, they ended up having a profound impact on me. And when I looked back, I realized that I had learned what really mattered to me in terms of intention and purpose and value in life. And for me, the Camino really was about the most extraordinary people that I met, ordinary people from all around the world that taught me about life and about living. And so that's really what the book is about. It really is the journey of my interactions with those folks in those ordinary moments that came out on the other end to change me in really profound ways.
I've just did an interview with Pamela Holt. She is the impresario, but behind Me, Myself, and the World. And she's a solo traveler. And yesterday, I just finished my interview with Heidi Byerly, who wrote Heidi Across America. And she went across America on a bicycle by herself.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So here are three women. I want you guys to know. Three women, please, those who are listening, who went across the world alone. And each of them said exactly the same thing to me, Suzanne. The thing that became important to them was their relationships.
Mm-hmm.
These relationships that sprung up and occurred almost magically and absolutely never left them and transformed them. So tell us, give us one or two that you remember best, let's say, or that you still have a relationship with, and how you keep that in your heart.
Well, it's funny that you would ask me that, because I literally just returned last night from walking the Via Francigena in Italy. And again, same thing happened. And I plan, of course, is to write about that. But at the end of that trip, I went to Dublin. And when I was in Dublin, I was visiting a couple that I met on the first Camino, the Camino Frances, and you hear about them in the book. And Connor and Emma became very, very dear friends of mine. And I really only walked with them a few days. But there was something about sharing that time together that touched me in a very, very deep way. One of the most profound things that happened for me was another young man, and he's also referenced in the book, that I met from South Korea. And I only walked with him a couple of hours, to be honest. He didn't speak very good English, and I certainly don't speak Korean. So we, talked through broken English and hand signals, which is what you do when you speak with people from different countries.
I had a Swiss friend. She used to say, I speak 8 languages with hand and foot.
Exactly. It's amazing what you can do with facial expressions and hand movement. But with this young man, he had literally just gotten out of the army, and he had been stationed on the front lines between South Korea and North Korea. And he was 20 years old. Now, he said he was 21, but in South Korea, you turn 1 the minute you're born. So he was really only 20. He was a very young man, and he had been in the army for a year and a half. And he was talking about the fear that he felt on the front lines. And while he was there was a time in our history, 2019, when our president was engaged in some interactions with the president of North Korea. And when those things were happening, the president of North Korea would shoot off rockets over South Korea as a way of sort of showing his strength. Yes. Well, this young 20-year-old kid was there during that and was panicked and fearful for his life and fearful for his family and fearful for his country. And for me, just those couple of hours walking with him and him sharing that experience with me really helped put into perspective the role that each of us play in the world, that we are one world, we are one people, and our actions affect other people. Big actions like military actions, but small actions too, like kindness, like helping someone. There was another young woman, Peggy from Hong Kong. I saw her one day walking, young girl, probably again, not much more than 20. And she was limping and she had a knee issue. And so she came up. I happened to be sitting on a picnic table taking a break, and I offered her an ACE bandage and some Advil. It was nothing. I mean, it was literally nothing. It was like, here, let me help you. And then I went on about my way. Well, I ran into her at the very end. I ran into her in Santiago. I didn't see her much after that. But she said to me, she said to me, you saved me.
Yes.
You saved me. And I said, what do you mean? What do you mean I saved you? She said, I was going to quit. I didn't think I could keep going. And your kindness saved me. And so moments like that are these moments where you realize that we can make a difference in one another's life, right? That we matter to one another. And so that was a big lesson for me.
Yeah, it's a wonderful lesson for aging too. I'll give you a few points here that have come to mind as you're talking, and my mind is spinning because I've had some of these similar both ways where I've saved and been saved. But the fact is that after a certain age, you enter what they call the rollless role. There's no real role for you. Well, that's baloney. The fact is that if you're a mentor, and it can be with a gesture, just a gesture, you can change someone's life. Mm-hmm. So you begin to realize that on this planet, you are as important as the next guy, no matter what your age or who you are or what your status. And when you're walking with very little stuff, right? Nobody knows if your house is nice or if you're homeless. You can be that person. It is an amazing, amazing spiritual experience for anybody, just to be walking alone or in a group. Giving you just a couple of things before we take a break, because my experience was very different in the sense of my transformation. I go to a lot of places. I talk to a lot of people. And I do take for granted. I've been taking for granted less because of people like you, these small interactions that I had. But I was on the side of the person who was helped. I had a real problem with my foot. And one of the proprietors of a fruit stand, for which I was not buying anything, cut up his aloe, which he was an aloe plant. He was selling them. And he gave it to me. And I used it. I was able to keep walking. Mm-hmm. And young people, we walk something called the New York City Loop, which is 32 miles in one day. And we do a 50-mile loop. That's our sport. Our sport is walking. Belong to an organization called Free Walkers. Young people couldn't make it at the end. And I walked with them for 5 miles. Mm-hmm. And I kept saying, you can do it. You can do it. And the fact that I was older made it really, really easy because they were not going to let, at that time, a 72-year-old beat them when I kept walking. So anything that you can do to show who you are at your age is in itself an inspiration. Just by walking in the street, looking good, having good posture, smiling, not complaining, not always talking about your gallbladder, it makes a difference in the world. So when we come back, I want to talk about the physicality of this and how you stay healthy and what happens if there is an issue, because I know people want to go, and that's their number one worry, really, is actually their health, whether they go by themselves or whether they go in a group. Don't you guys go anywhere. There are many barriers to travel, but money should not be one of them. I have put together a free ebook for you, but please act now. It's available to you only until August 1st of this year. It's called Luxury Travel for Less. You can access it completely free of charge at luxurytravelforless.info. It's the kind of book that really is helpful. 32 pages, 75 websites, and all the hints and tips I use as I travel for 3 months throughout the year on a budget that's very similar to yours. We're all on fixed income here one way or another after retirement, and yet we love to travel, and we love to travel in luxury. No more bad beds for me. LuxuryTravelForLess.info. Okay, we are now back with one of the most fascinating conversations I've had in a long time. Suzanne Maggio, you'll find her book, Estrellas, which is really her own exposition of what she went through during El Camino. And there's a lot of books on El Camino. You should definitely buy some of them that are just travel guides. There's a lot to see. I love Galicia, particularly if I could own one home in Europe, it might be there. Places called Vigo. They go right through El Camino. So this is touristic as well. And good food. Look, you're in Portugal, you're in Spain, you're in France. But if you really want to know the inside story, you want to read Estrellas. So let's go back to that, though. People are thinking, gee, you were 60. I was definitely over 65. And we went. So weren't we worried about our health? What did you do to make sure you stayed fine?
Well, I had health issues as you did. I ended up with really bad blisters. Let me back up for a minute. I actually am pretty physical. I exercise and I'm in pretty good shape. But when you're walking that distance, things happen. People get sick. Many people do something to their knee or their back and they can't continue. It's like, it does happen. That's real. But there are a couple of things I think that are really important. The first thing, of course, is the planning. You want to be in pretty good shape before you go. You want to make sure that you bring only what you need. And if you don't want to carry your bag, you don't have to carry your bag. And you want to make sure you have good shoes. Those things are all very, very important. It's also important to remember that Spain has great medical care.
And cheap.
Yeah,
and cheap.
And in many cases, free. So on the Camino, many of us who had challenges were able to see a doctor or a pharmacist or a nurse for very little money to get help. And I walked with a gal who had an infection. She got it taken care of. Somebody else got bit by a dog. They got that taken care of, all for free.
Very important point.
Yeah.
Very important.
I had blisters. I got blisters when I was walking a section of the Camino called the Meseta. And the Meseta is a flat area in the center of the walk that is quite hot because there's very little shade. You're walking in the hot sun all day and your feet get hot. And when your feet get hot, depending on, how careful you are with taking off your socks and cooling them off, I was not. I ended up getting blisters on top of blisters on top of blisters. And it was very painful, but I kept walking. And then at some point I got to Leon and I thought, I really was worried. I thought, I'm in a lot of pain. I'm not sure I can keep going. And so I took one day off and I stayed in Leon for an extra day. And I went into a pilgrim shop and I said to the guy at the pilgrim shop, I have blisters. He said to me, you need these socks. And I said, no, I don't think you understand. I'm telling him this in Spanish. I have really bad blisters. He said, no, you need these socks. So I said, okay. He said, take everything off your feet, the bandages and everything else. Just put the skin to the sock. You're going to be fine. And he was right. They are a special sock. They are threaded with silver, which is healing properties. I put them on. I wore them for 3 days and I was pain-free within 3 days.
Yeah. I'm going to expand on that one. We have products, very small number, maybe 5 or 6. One of them is called Threads. It's socks and it's also T-shirts. It's scientific what they weave into this, but it is woven for pain relief.
Yeah.
And they are amazing. I do take a look at agelesstraveler.com on our travel products. You'll see these threads. It's unbelievable. And I want to throw one other thing in that you can get at REI or Dick's or any place that caters to athletics. You must have socks that wick. Everybody's worried about their health. Worry about your feet. Mm-hmm. It's the single number one thing that will stop you from being able to walk, that and your lower back. So we have, as part of the Ageless Traveler, 2 mature fitness coaches on our advisory board that will tell you what exercises to do. First, to strengthen your lower back, your neck and shoulders, and then you go and you get the right poles, if you want to use poles, the wicking clothes, and of course, the 50 or more sunscreen type of lotion and clothing. If you do just that, that will be more to your health than anything else you could ever do. But watch the socks. There's plenty out there. They're just amazing. Okay, so we talked a little bit about that. I don't want to leave this segment on the socks. When you were finished, how did you feel? Did you have to take off? You're a college lecturer. You work. Did you have to recuperate?
So I finished. I landed in Santiago. I arrived in Santiago, and I had this moment, right? Everybody arrives in Santiago. If they do end there, I'm standing in front of the cathedral and people are taking pictures and I'm going, okay, I did my requisite end of Santiago walk pose and then felt profoundly sad that it was over. There's a way in which, for me, there was a way in which like I didn't know what to do because for a month I'd been getting up every morning and walking. And then there's nowhere to go anymore. And And so while everybody else was like sort of celebrating, I felt this sadness and emptiness. And I remember thinking that I was the only one. Like I was looking around going, whoa, why don't I feel excited? Why don't I feel elated? And part of me did, of course. I mean, of course, you can't do that and not feel proud of yourself. But I remember going back to the hotel and I took a shower and I lay down on the bed, wrapped up in a towel. And I must have fallen asleep because I woke up 3 hours later and I was freezing cold, of course, because I hadn't completely dried myself. But all of a sudden I recognized I was exhausted. I was wiped out. When I came home, that feeling, not just physical fatigue, because you definitely feel, you can't walk 32 days straight and not feel tired, especially when you're putting in those long distances. But there was a way in which there was an emotional fatigue as well. And this sort of, like I mentioned in the beginning, this sense that something had happened and I hadn't quite understood what. And so the rest and recuperation really was twofold. One, it was obviously physical. I lost a toenail when I was walking.
Sure.
I had blisters. I was achy. But then there was this other kind of like revitalization or renewal that comes out of that I hadn't really accounted for. And I think that's an important part to recognize as well.
Yeah. I think you get what you are looking for without even knowing what you're looking for in the first place. This has been my feeling about the Camino and when people talk to me about it. We're going to take a little bit of a break. It's our last segment of our show. I'll come back, tell you a little bit about my transformation, which was on a much more practical level. And we will continue then after that, meeting with Suzanne on YouTube, my favorite part of the show when I actually get to show you and see for myself who I'm talking to. Don't you go anywhere. I have a couple of questions for you. Do you sometimes experience joint pain or body pain? Do you worry that the airplane rides are too long for you because they really hurt? Or are you concerned that you cannot walk pain-free on some of those great tours you want to take? Well, as you know, the Ageless Traveler has curated several products that we think are great for travel, and they're unique. And this one is Intelligent Threads. It's T-shirts and socks and pants and even sheets. Stuff that you could take with you, use at home to be much more pain-free. It is a very unique technology that they use to weave their garments. And you'll find out all about it, how this technology works, and how it can improve not only your day-to-day life, but the ease with which you travel. Simply go to agelesstraveler.com and you will see exactly how to buy them, how to get your discounts because you are an ageless traveler, and what it can do for you. That's agelesstraveler.com. Travel products. Never stop traveling. And we're back, and as you know, we're with Suzanne Maggio. She's the author of Estrellas. We've been talking about El Camino at length. I do want people to know that I had a very different takeaway. I am not in good shape. I am now, but I was not in good shape as you were. I'm fearful physically. I'm afraid of my own shadow when it comes to anything. If I get a paper cut, I already have sepsis in my mind. And I know where every hospital is. I'm like a hospital map. So what was my transformation? I became very self-confident about my own physicality. If you can do this, and not only is it so easy while you're walking it, but when you get to Santiago, the town, and it's done, that cathedral is uphill, folks. Do you remember that? You get there, you say, oh, I'm finished. Then you take a look at that street and you said, oh my God, that's about 1.5 miles or 2 miles straight uphill to this cathedral because that's where they put cathedrals. So it's never easy, this walk, for anybody, even a great athlete. Certainly wasn't easy for me. But the very fact that I did it was life-changing because it's been maybe 10 years or so. And now, every time something is difficult, I say one foot in front of the other, you can finish the pilgrimage. And I did specifically decide that I would end the pilgrimage in Santiago where it ends because I wanted to get my certificate. They give you a certificate when you walk to prove to myself that I could make this happen. That's a big thing when you age because everybody thinks that you're incompetent and they confuse you with a disability. The minute they see gray hair, you must have some kind of problem. Do you want a ramp? Do you want a chair? That's what they ask you. And the fact that I did this made my aging incredibly better for my own, because you're a psychologist, my own psychophysical feeling of well-being. And when I was finished with it, I just had a drink. I was like Prosecco. No showers. I didn't need a bed, nothing. Just the Prosecco is fine with me. So everybody has a very, very different experience. Now, we're going to continue this conversation. Please go to the Ageless Traveler website, agelesstraveler.com. Join our salon. We already have people who have walked the Camino giving advice, and those who want to walk asking for advice. We do have on our podcast page an icon that you can just click, and you can leave a voicemail or a text for Suzanne or any of our wonderful guests, and they will answer questions, and I will answer questions on the air. So we're doing a lot to make sure of our motto, which is never stop traveling.